If you cracked open that 34-page user manual for the Humminbird PiranhaMAX 4 and felt your soul leave your body, well, I feel ya. I took the mental trauma, I read it, decoded it, and I'm gonna walk you through how to max out the performance on this bad boy and also get you on fish faster. Let's hop in. So the first thing you're gonna wanna know in order to use this is the button interface, right? So it's interesting, it only comes with 4 buttons compared to like its competitors. It's like 7 or 8 buttons on the Lowrance Eagle 4X and the Garmin Striker 4, a bunch more buttons. So this is a pretty simple unit. So on the left side, you're gonna have your power menu key, right? This is the main control button for the entire unit. It's gonna turn the unit on and off. It's also gonna manage all the menu functions. You can open menus, you can confirm settings, you can back out, and if you click it and it's on like dimmer, it'll actually get some backlight for you. Then you got the 2 middle keys, up and down. These keys are gonna be all the navigation and adjustments that you need. You can scroll through menu options, you can adjust settings inside any active menu, you can change the sensitivity, and a little hack for you, if you're on a sonar page, you can actually just change the sensitivity without going into the menu. So if I want to make that go all the way down or jack it all the way up, you can just do that through hitting up and down. And on the right side, you're going to have your check and enter key, right? This is your confirmation key. You're going to activate menus, you can highlight an option and press enter to open it. You can confirm settings. And so it's a key that finalizes every adjustment that you want to make. Bottom line, 4 buttons, 0 confusion, right? And I highly recommend you play with it a little bit before you go out in the water. It's gonna make it a whole lot less frustrating for you. Next up, it's gonna be really important for you to just fully understand the sonar screen. So the PiranhaMAX 4 gives you exactly what you need when it comes to this sonar. It's gonna show you the depth in the top left, and it's gonna show you your upper and your lower. However, it's not gonna give you a range. So if you're looking for that range, it comes on some of the other unit. And what I mean by that is it gives you 0, 10, 20, 30, but this doesn't give you that. Just your upper, your lower, and your actual bottom contour as it moves up and down. Now on this transducer, that little metal piece is going to be what tells you the temperature, 78 degrees. And then of course you're going to have all your sonar returns. Your arches are going to be your fish. It's going to show you the bottom contour. It's going to show you the bottom hardness. The stronger the color, the harder the bottom. There's those bait clouds, the structure, the cover. But here's the thing, how clean and accurate all this looks really depends on your settings. So I'm going to walk you through every single setting on this unit pretty quickly. Now, first thing, hit the menu button. Let's go to setup. And inside of setup, let's look at this one, fish ID. Right now it's off and you can actually click that on. So let's go ahead and click it on and then back out and it's going to run. So fish ID uses Humminbird signal processing to interpret sonar returns and turn some of those into fish symbols with depth readings, which is what you see here. The small icon, like you see right there by the 9, it's going to be a weak return. Medium icon, I don't see one yet. It's going to be a moderate return, and that big one over here, number 8, it's going to be a large icon. It's going to be a strong return. So if you prefer a beginner-friendly screen that identifies likely fish automatically, then of course, keep this on. If you want that raw sonar data, arches and all, turn Fish ID off. Now this is a setting most experienced anglers prefer, because it gives you the full story, not just interpreted symbols. I'm going to keep that on for now and keep on moving through. The next, under Fish ID, you're going to see bottom view. And so let's go and click on this. It's going to give you an option between structure ID or white line. And you're probably like, what the crap is that? So structure ID is going to be weak returns equals lighter pixels, right? Strong returns equals darker pixels. This makes hard bottom and solid structure stand out clearly. Now white line highlights the strongest returns in white. All right, it creates a clean, bright outline along the bottom. This makes bottom separation easier to see, especially if you're trying to identify hard versus soft transitions. So at the end of the day, use structure ID if you want a natural shaded representation, and use white line if you want the bottom outlined and easier to spot at a glance. So let's go in here. Let's go back. That was in setup. That was under Fish ID. I'm going to change this back to structure ID. That's what I like better. So next up we got, under setup, we got alarm. Now Humminbird gives you several alarms that actually help you fish smarter and actually stay safer out in the water. But here's the catch, every single one of them comes turned off right out of the box default. So it's worth knowing what they do and whether you want them on. So let's walk through the 4 alarms available on the PiranhaMAX 4. And let's start with the battery alarm. So this alarm goes off when your battery drops to the voltage level that you set. It keeps you being surprised when your system's running low, right? So if you're running a 12-volt system, which you should be when you're running this, setting this somewhere between 10.5 and 11 volts is a general good starting point if you want this. And as you can see, you can kind of set that way. I am not going to set it. I want this thing beeping at me all the time. Next alarm is going to be, let's talk about the fish alarm. So fish alarm, this sounds when the sonar detects fish that match the size category that you choose. So it works only in sonar view and only when fish ID is turned on. So if you were like, why isn't this working? Well, you got to go turn fish ID on first and then come back and turn on the fish alarm. All right, so you get a couple options here. You can do all. This is going to alert for every detected fish. You can do your large and medium. This filters out the small stuff. And of course, you can do just large for anglers who want to know about the better fish. But if you prefer quiet fishing or raw sonar readings, you'll probably leave this off. But for beginners or casual fishing, it could be helpful. And let's head into the third alarm, which can be the depth alarm, right? So this alarm sounds when the water becomes equal to or shallower than the depth you set. So it's useful for like avoiding shallow hazards, staying off flats, alerting you when you drift into ledges or humps. So generally could be a helpful tool for you. And then the other alarm we have is the just mute. This setting is really going to control whether the unit makes any audible sound or not. So you can turn mute on if you want silence, turn it off if you want audible alerts, which is good to know if you fish around people, right? Or in the quiet morning hours where consistent beeping might get you some looks or some comments. So there you go. Next up, let's back out and let's look at view. So the view setting is straightforward, right? You're really only going to be able to choose before sonar view, and if you click into this status, and if you click into status, it's going to just tell you, information about this. So kind of boring here. And you might be like, why do they have this? Well, keep in mind, if you're looking for the flasher mode, there is no flasher mode on this unit. Now, if you're coming from Lowrance and I believe Garmin, both of those competitors offer a flasher in their comparable models. So we'll talk about that in a little bit. But another thing you would find if you purchase the PiranhaMAX DI, which is down imaging, this is where you would also switch into that view. Next, let's check out another option here, which is depth range. So depth range controls how deep the unit will display the sonar return. You got two ways to run it, auto or manual. You can do auto, or you can do, I believe, 15 to 600 feet in sonar view. So it goes all the way up to 600. So auto does all the work for you. The unit consistently adjusts the lower depth limit, so the screen always follows the bottom. Now, if you're moving around or fishing points or covering water, auto keeps things clean and consistent without you really touching anything. And of course, manual lets you lock the display into a specific depth range. I like keeping this on auto, and so that is what I am going to do. So next up, we got sensitivity. So sensitivity controls how much detail your sonar shows on the screen. So think of it as how much information do you want slider. Now, if you turn it up, the unit will show more. Small bait fish, later returns, and even tiny particles sometimes in the water. So this is really great for clear water or fishing deeper where those weaker signals actually matter. Let me show you what this looks like. Let's turn this all the way up and hit enter. So that line right there is when that started, when the sensitivity is up, and as you can see, it's picking up a lot more than what it did when I believe it was on 5. Now, if you were to go sensitivity all the way down to 0, no filter, you can see that line there, and it's going to be showing left. So the question is, when would you want to decrease it? So if the water's dirty or you're getting a bunch of clutter, turn it down. So that lower sensitivity cleans up the screen, so you're only seeing the stronger, more important return. So it's a filter, right? So just keep in mind, turn it down too far and you may start losing actual fish returns. Turn it up too far and the screen can get noisy. So I like keeping this, to be honest with you, at default. Next up, we have the zoom setting. So let's go and click on the zoom. So the zoom is going to let you take a closer look at the bottom and any structure or fish that might be hanging tight to it. And so you can do auto zoom or off. It's the only two. So auto zoom is going to keep things simple, right? When you turn it on, the unit automatically zooms in around the bottom and adjusts the upper and lower depth range for you. Makes it easier to spot fish in the detail that may not be showing up in the standard view. And turn it off, you want to go back to that normal full water column view. So manual obviously gives you control over exactly what the water column, if you want to zoom into, and the available manual ranges, and you can kind of throttle through those. I mean, it could be good, right? If you want that fixed magnified window in a specific depth zone, usually for those scanning the bottom and you want more detail. So I'm going to take this back all the way to auto where I like to have it. Next up, we're going to have chart speed. So let's enter into here and then you can go 1 to 5. And so let me explain what this is. A chart speed controls how fast your sonar data scrolls across the screen. So think of it of how quickly the unit paints the picture of what's underneath of you. Faster speeds Let's go like 4 or 5. These guys right here. Most anglers prefer running it fast, right? You get more real-time information. The screen updates quickly and the movement shows up more naturally. This is especially helpful when you're covering water and moving at a steady pace. However, slower speeds like 3, 2, and 1, this keeps the sonar data on the screen longer, but also compresses everything, right? Fish, bottom, structure, which can make the picture harder to read, and it's really only useful in very specific situations. Like if you're sitting still and you're wanting the display to linger. For most styles of fishing, however, the default is 5, and to be honest with you, that's exactly where you want to keep it. Next up, you have filter. So on filter, it can be either on or off. And so the sonar filter helps cut down on the unwanted noise in your sonar picture. So if you're seeing extra clutter from things like turbulence and electrical interference or another sonar unit running nearby, turning this on can clean up that display. However, if your screen already looks good, keep it off, right? Only use it in the filter when you actually need it so you don't lose that fine detail. So let's keep that off. And then of course, you're gonna have light. This is pretty simple. You can jack that up to 5. It's actually on 0 right now because my camera is picking that up really well. If not, it would blow out this image. You guys wouldn't be able to see it. And on light, I believe you only get like 20% increments. Yep. 100, 80, 60, 40, 20. Of course, you can manage how much battery usage you have with this. Now let's look at this one. This one's interesting. Let's go down to beam select. Where are you at? There you are. Beam select is going to give you 2 options. And so what's interesting about this transducer, it's a dual beam transducer. And like its competitor, this comes from the Lowrance Eagle 4X. It's a single beam. And as you can see, a little smaller, more simpler. And this is actually kicking out 2 frequencies. Why would you choose one over the other? So 200 kilohertz uses a wider 28-degree cone, right? It gives you a broader look at what's under your vessel, great for general searching or covering more water. However, you're going to switch this over to 455 kilohertz. It's a much narrower 16-degree cone. So it's going to give you a more focused, detailed look directly beneath you. So use 200 kilohertz when you want to see more area, and use 455 kilohertz when you want a tighter detail and cleaner read on the structure or fish right below you. Another thing you're probably going to want to know about this unit is how to power it and how long it's going to last, right? Because nothing ruins a perfectly good fishing day faster than your fish finder flatlining the moment those fish decide to finally clock in. Now, Humminbird officially publishes a 0.18 amp draw for the PiranhaMAX 4, which is insanely efficient, right? But as we all know, real world use comes with real world variables like screen brightness. That's going to change that. Cold weather is going to change it. Battery age, those type of things. So to give you numbers that you can actually trust, I'm going to use a 0.25 amp, a realistic, slightly conservative estimate that accounts for those variables, right? Now for 4-inch units, I personally run the Aqua Pro battery kits, what you see here. This is going to be your 20 amp hour, 10 amp hour, 4.4 amp hour. This guy's pretty tiny. And just to give you an idea how long this will run this unit, this 20 amp hour run it for like 80 hours. It's crazy. It's like a multi-day trips, perfect. 10 amp hour, you cut that in half, 40 hours. Perfect for those weekend sessions. If you want something tiny and small, if you're a minimalist, this 4.4 amp hour battery is going to last and run this unit for 17 to 18 hours, right? This is the ultra light option. Now, if you've already picked up the Humminbird PiranhaMAX 4, I got good news for you. It's a good, simple sonar unit, right? And I just shared with you how to max out its performance. However, if you're just kind of out there doing your research, trying to figure out what entry-level fish finder that you want to use, there's a lot more competition than most people realize. You got the Lowrance Eagle 4X right here. You got the Garmin Striker 4. I've tested them all, ran the specs against each of them. And before you spend a single dollar, one of these actually reigns supreme. And you can find out which one does in that video right there. Thanks for watching, guys. See ya.